Imagine having the world at your feet, only to lose it all in a heartbeat. Today, we're diving deep into the stories of footballers who had it all, and then threw it away. What went wrong, and where are they now? Stay tuned, because this is going to be a rollercoaster ride. Welcome back to Soccer Fanatics. We all love a good underdog story, but today we're talking about the opposite. Footballers who had a meteoric rise, only to see their careers crash and burn. Some were set to become legends, but poor decisions, controversies, or injuries saw them fall from grace. Let's kick off with the first name on our list. But before we start, tell us in the comments about the first name that comes to mind. Known as the Emperor, Adriano Leite Ribeiro was once Brazil's brightest star, a prodigious talent who seemed destined to follow in the footsteps of legends like Ronaldo and Romario. At just 16, Adriano was scouted by Flamengo, one of Brazil's most prestigious clubs. At the time, he was 19. Adriano had already caught the eye of European scouts, and Inter Milan was the club that won the race to sign him, recognizing in Adriano a rare blend of strength, speed, and skill. In Italy, he became a goal-scoring machine, hypnotizing defenders with his blistering pace, devastating power, and captivating finishing. Fans nicknamed him the Emperor for his imposing presence on the field and his ability to change the course of a game with a single moment of brilliance. He was hailed as the heir to Ronaldo, not just because of his Brazilian roots, but due to his ability to dominate defenses in a way few could. At Inter Milan, Adriano was unstoppable, becoming a key figure for the Brazilian national team, scoring crucial goals in Copa America and Confederations Cup tournaments. His electrifying performances made him one of the most feared strikers in the world. The world was at his feet, and the stage was set for him to become a legend. But then, the unthinkable happened, and tragedy struck. The untimely death of his father struck him to his core. His father was his biggest supporter. Losing him was like losing a part of himself. The grief was overwhelming, and the pain was unbearable. Desperate to numb the hurt, Adriano turned to alcohol and the high life that came with fame. Teammates and coaches watched as the young, vibrant star who once burned so brightly began to fade. Training sessions became optional, discipline went out the window, and his once unmatched drive dwindled to nothing more than a distant memory. On the pitch, his form deteriorated. The sharpness, the explosiveness, the hunger, they all vanished. Fans who had once adored him now watched in disappointment as he struggled to replicate the magic. The goals dried up, and so did his passion for the game. The press hounded him, every misstep and night out chronicled in painful detail. His love for football was eclipsed by a cloud of sadness and regret. Today, Adriano lives a quieter life back in Brazil, far from the glittering lights of European football. He's often seen in his old neighborhood, a stark contrast to the grand stadiums where he once reigned supreme. He has made several attempts at comebacks, but each attempt reminded the world, and perhaps himself, that the magic had gone. Can you recall Adriano's best moments? Share your memory with us in the comments section. Mario Balotelli. What can we say? This man was a walking headline, a talent like no other, and yet a mystery that even the greatest football minds couldn't solve. From his early days at Inter Milan, when he burst onto the scene as a teenager with dazzling skill and supreme confidence, to his explosive performances at Manchester City, Mario was the player everyone wanted to watch. Whether you loved or hated him, you couldn't ignore him. On the pitch, Balotelli was a magician with the ball at his feet. He could bend it like Beckham and finish like Ronaldo. His raw power, combined with his uncanny ability to make defenders look foolish, made him one of the most exciting young talents in the world. At Manchester City, he was instrumental in their first Premier League title in 44 years. Balotelli's charisma and style endeared him to fans, who saw him as football's rock star, a player who could turn a game with his splendor. But for every moment of magic, there was an equal measure of madness. Balotelli's downfall was a cocktail of on-field brilliance overshadowed by off-field antics that often left his coaches and teammates exasperated. Stories of his behavior became the stuff of legend, like the time he set off fireworks in his own bathroom, causing a fire that led to an emergency response, or the countless public spats with managers, including his infamous run-ins with Roberto Mancini, his manager at Manchester City. It wasn't just the off-field escapades. On the pitch, Mario was unpredictable in the worst ways. He was known for his temper, which frequently boiled over, resulting in red cards and suspensions that hurt his team. In one infamous moment, during a critical match for Manchester City against Arsenal, he he received a red card for a reckless tackle, jeopardizing his team's chances in the title race. His lack of discipline, his refusal to conform to the standards, and his general lack of dedication began to wear thin on the clubs that invested so heavily in his potential. The highs were extraordinary, but the lows were devastating. Managers, hoping to unlock the best in Balotelli, soon found themselves frustrated by his refusal to change. He bounced from club to club, each time with the promise of a fresh start, but the cycle continued. A few flashes of brilliance, followed by behaviour that got him sidelined. Now, Balotelli finds himself playing for smaller clubs, a far cry from the grand stages of Europe's elite competitions. He's become more of a nostalgic memory than a present-day threat. Occasionally, he still produces a moment of magic, but those instances are few. The promise of his early years has been replaced by a career that feels unfulfilled, a tale of what might have been. So, tell us, were you mesmerised by Balotelli's game or irritated by his behaviour? You do remember calling him the mini Pelé, don't you? Robinho was the crown jewel of Brazilian football, hailed as the next big thing, and even touted to be the successor to Pelé. With a natural flair and joy that radiated through his every move on the pitch, he became an instant sensation in Brazil. His dribbling was mesmerising, his pace electrifying, and his ability to score from seemingly impossible situations made him a highlight reel favourite. The world took notice, and it wasn't long before Real Madrid came calling, eager to bring this young phenom to the grand stages of European football. At Real Madrid, Robinho lit up the pitch with his dazzling footwork and a knack for scoring sensational goals. He was the embodiment of the samba style, playful yet deadly, with a swagger that captured the hearts of fans and made defenders quake in their boots. His raw talent was undeniable, and it seemed his future was set. With every jinking run and every goal celebration, Robinho appeared destined to join the pantheon of Brazilian greats who had made their mark in Europe. However, Robinho's journey wasn't as smooth as many had hoped. Despite the early promise, his time in Europe was marred by inconsistency. At Real Madrid, his performances fluctuated between flashes of brilliance and spells of anonymity. He struggled to maintain the form that had made him a sensation in Brazil, often disappearing in big games when his team needed him the most. Coaches became frustrated with his inability to adapt to the European style of play, and as a result, his position in the starting lineup became less certain. Looking for a fresh start, Robinho made a high-profile move to Manchester City, where he was expected to kickstart a new era for the club. But his inconsistency followed him. While he occasionally dazzled, his work ethic and commitment were frequently questioned. Off the field, rumours of his dissatisfaction with life in England and his desire to return to Spain began to surface. It seemed that every time Robinho had an opportunity to prove himself, something would derail his progress. But what truly overshadowed his once promising career were his off-field issues. Legal troubles, including a high-profile conviction for sexual assault in Italy, cast a dark shadow over his legacy. The accusations and subsequent legal battles dominated headlines, leaving his football achievements a distant memory. His form on the pitch declined rapidly as these issues mounted, and it became clear that his head was no longer fully in the game. Once the crown jewel of Brazilian football, Robinho's shine had dimmed, and his career, which once seemed destined for greatness, began to fade into oblivion. Now, Robinho has returned to Brazil, a stark reminder of how quickly fortunes can change in football. These stories serve as a cautionary tale of how quickly a promising career can spiral out of control. While some players may have a brief resurgence, they never truly recapture their early magic. The legacies are now a mix of what they achieved and what they could have been. Talent can take you to the top, but staying there requires so much more discipline, focus, and sometimes a little bit of luck. Let these stories remind us of the fine line between greatness and obscurity. But before signing off, let us know, if you could change the fate of one of these players, which lucky one would that be, and why? Thanks for tuning in to Soccer Fanatics. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the beautiful game.